there, Skeleton Key here. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're joining me live, let's see. Am I? Okay, yes, I am live. I was like, wait, it's not showing up on the screen. Okay. Yes. If you are joining me live, feel free to hop in the chat and say hi. And, we could chat about what you're reading, what I'm reading, what you think of any of the books that I'm talking about. And likewise, if you're joining this on replay, watching this on replay, you can go into the comment section and say hi there and share your thoughts, and we can chat there too. That's always a good time. Well, I hope it is anyway. I hope so. Anyway, let's see what we've got going on. Week 11, ending yesterday. I finished 3 books. So, yeah, the previous week I finished 2 books. Last week I finished 3. I did make progress on quite a few other books, and I've just been kind of rotating them and listening to some. I haven't really been reading as many physical books as I would like. So, but let's see, let me put these up on the screen. All right, so let's see. So these 3 books here. So the first one I finished was The Day the Crayons Came Home. And this was the winner for Best Picture Books of 2015, back when they actually did a Goodreads Choice Award for picture books and middle grade and graphic novels and all sorts of fun stuff. But they don't do that anymore. But anyway, this, I'll admit, I don't get it. I don't know why this won Best Picture Book. And also, it turns out I didn't have to read this one. I thought I still needed to read a Goodreads Choice Award winner for the Kindle. Is it the Kindle Choice? No, it's just the Kindle Kindle Challenge. Kindle Reading Challenge. And I do that. It's this quarterly thing they do. And there's like 15 little challenges. And I think they're kind of, some of them at least, are kind of random. And different people get different things. Like I might get a challenge to read 9 books over the month of February. And somebody else might get a challenge to read sometime in these 3 days. It's like, okay, it doesn't seem quite right, but I like doing that one because I have lots and lots and lots of ebooks, because I download a lot of free things, and a lot of times for a book club, I end up having to, it's like, okay, well, I guess I'm not getting that from the library, so I guess I will go get the ebook real quick and hope for the best. I usually only do that if they're pretty cheap. I don't like spending money. I would rather pay like 20 bucks for a paperback than pay $10 for a Kindle book. But yeah. But anyway, that was one of my challenges, was to read a Goodreads Choice Award winner, because, Goodreads is owned by Amazon, and they're trying to get you to buy books from them. And so I went and I borrowed this because I didn't want to buy an ebook of a picture book. Sometimes I will buy physical picture books, and then, I read them, and then I give them to my friends who have kids who might appreciate them. And I'm glad I didn't buy this one. It's not bad. I won't say that. I don't think this is an award winner, and it's about this kid's crayons, this boy Duncan, and his crayons. And I guess this is the second book in the series, so maybe if I read the first book, which is The Day the Crayons Quit or something like that. Anyway, this is the day the crayons came home, and they're basically sending this boy Duncan postcards and explaining, hey, you've forgotten left me at the pool at this hotel when you were on vacation. So I'm gonna have to find my own way home, or you left me in the living room and the dog ate me and then vomited me up onto the carpet, and now I'm covered in carpet fluff. And I'm like, who is this kid Duncan, and why was he ever trusted with crayons? I don't get it. I mean, and you might be saying, oh, well, didn't you like mangle your crayons or break them or, leave them in the sun to melt or anything? And I'm like, no, I took care of my stuff. And, yeah, and I hated it when other kids would come over and like, use my crayons because, and I mean, they weren't even friends. They were usually kids of my mom's church friends. My mom would host some church lady thing, and the other church ladies would bring their little brats, and they would play with my toys, and they would use my crayons, and they would mess with my crayons. They would mess with my stuff, and I didn't like it. And yeah, and they would always, and especially like if I had like a nice 64 color box of crayons, and sometimes it'd have a little sharpener built in. I mean, it was a crap sharpener, but it was it was a good thought. And they're nice, and they would put them back in the box just willy-nilly, and I was like, oh, now I gotta put them back in order. Okay, parents of autistic children, don't make them share their stuff. Just don't do it. If they want to share their stuff, and they will share their stuff with actual friends that they can trust, yeah, they'll do that. But don't make them share their stuff, because it's not going to end well. Somebody's going to be crying. And it's probably me. But yeah. Yeah, I don't think Duncan is, I don't like Duncan. Don't like him. And I just think the format of this with the cramped writing on the postcards, it just, I don't get it. I didn't hate it or anything, but I was just like, well, I kind of hate Duncan. But anyway, a pox on Duncan. No, I won't say that. That's not nice. But Duncan should be supervised closely with crayons. I will say that. Back to the next book was The Midnight Library, and I kind of expected to DNF this. I gave it 3 stars in the end. I actually liked it a lot better than I thought I would. I thought I was gonna just, well, and I will say this, it is about suicide and suicidal ideation, and that's a big part of it. And a lot of really bad things happen to characters throughout this book, and it's kind of intense. There are a lot of content warnings you could give for this book, because lots of awful things happen to people and cats. And yeah, well, I guess just the one cat, and it wasn't violent or anything. It was, well, that's a spoiler, so anyway, I won't say what happens to the cat, but be prepared to be sad. There's a lot of sad stuff in this book. There's, yeah, but it's a lot about paths not taken, and that is a trope that I I think about a lot. That it I find that trope very appealing to think about and read about, and so I ended up liking this book quite a bit. This is probably a 3.5 rounded down. It I mean, since I do like that trope, I've read a lot of things with that kind of trope. And there wasn't a whole lot new to this. And I think a lot of people really liked it because it kind of took a science-y bent. The approach, they talked a lot about the many worlds theory and quantum physics and how every choice you make splits off into a different universe and the multiverse, and then this librarian character. Well, it's I guess a different character for different people, but that I won't get into that because that's kind of spoilery. Um, and I think that's one thing I didn't like about it was that there was like this order to it instead of it being fairly chaotic. But as far as the many worlds theory, I've read enough actual, you know, science fiction and science fiction adjacent takes on this trope that it's not new to me, and I think it probably is new to a lot of readers. And if so, hey, that's great. I'm not upset that anybody loves this book. If you love this book, hey, that's great. I'm glad you really enjoyed it and got a lot out of it. And I think a lot of people read it and identify with Nora, the main character. And I identified with her to some extent, but yeah, and I think it was kind of muddled in like the difference between, and again, this does take place in England, or at least for the most part, it starts in England, and um, it's English people at the heart of the story, and it kind of, I think, muddles the differences between clinical and situational depression. I'm not sure if we even use that terminology here in the US, but it sounded to me like, you know, sometimes she would say, "Oh, I have situational depression," and other times it would seem to me like, I don't know, it seems like you might have clinical depression. Are you sure you trust your doctor to evaluate you properly? And but of course, I'm not a psychologist, so I don't know. But it just it the things that they talked about in relation to the different diagnoses didn't really seem all that uh, consistent, I guess. And but otherwise, I really liked it. It's about this woman who, you know, and this isn't a spoiler, you know, she says, "Oh, you know, when Nora decided to die, blah blah blah." Um, so yeah, she decides to take her own life, and then she winds up in this midnight library where she gets to explore paths not taken, and it's interesting, but it was kind of old hat to me. But that didn't make me dislike it. I was like, this is a pretty good example of this trope. Um, and so yeah, I don't have physical copies of any of these three books. And the third one, this was an Audible freebie. Um, Back in probably in 2019. There was a while they were doing that free first Friday thing, and they'd have like 6 of their Audible originals or Audible exclusives. And and they quit doing that during the the first year of the pandemic. I think they decided that wasn't really fitting their business model. But anyway, this is one that I downloaded a long time ago. And so I finally got around to reading it because it hit prompts for 2 readathons, the March Mystery Madness and also Middle Grade March. And I think it's middle grade. Here it says young adult, middle grade, children's. I'd say the main character, Viva Durant, is 14. And so it always seems a little murky to me as to what exactly that means. Is it middle grade? Is it YA? So I will just say this is probably the younger end of young adult and the older end of middle grade. But Viva Durant is, she's from California, but she's in New Orleans visiting her grandmother for the summer. And her grandmother reads her a bit of an article that she finds really interesting. It's about these silver buttons that, and it's all based around a song called Miss Mary Mac. And I've heard of that before in other things set in New Orleans. So as far as I know, that's something that's been around a long time in reality. It wasn't just made up for this book. And so there was a descendant of the original Mary Mac is claiming that the song was a map it was a treasure map, and that the silver buttons referenced in the song were her treasure that she'd and I can't say that because that's a spoiler. Anyway, I was going to say something else about the silver buttons, but anyway, that they're a treasure and very valuable. And so Viva gets it into her head to go find, to solve the mystery of the silver buttons and go find them. And it's pretty clear later on, but at first I didn't really pick up on the fact that yes, she was intending to then take them to the because I think a reward was offered. But anyway, yeah, she does want to take them to the family, the descendants of Miss Mary Mac, and I think it was either like a hand clapping game. In this book, they referred to it as a hand clapping game, but I'm also thinking it might have been a rope skipping game. I'm not sure. How the songs for rope skipping. I was never, a few of my friends when I was a kid, we would actually try to do the rope skipping stuff, and I was absolutely no good at that. I could not do it. But anyway, so I don't know a lot about that, but this was a fun book. And so let's see, what prompts did it, and I'll get a little bit more into the readathons, but for middle grade March, it was, debut. So this is the author, Ashley Saint Amant. This is her debut novel. I believe she's written a lot of, composed and written a lot of music, songs, and other things like that. But this is her debut novel. And yeah, so I will actually read more. I think there are more of these available in this series, because now Audible does sort of I got the half price version of Audible, and they call it Audible Plus, even though it's Audible minus. But anyway, so there are some things that I can get without paying for. I don't have to buy them. I can just load them into my library. And I think there's at least one more in the series that I can get. So I'll probably read it at some point or listen to it. And it is nice. It does have a lot, set in New Orleans, and I gather that she will be returning every summer to solve more mysteries in New Orleans. And there's a lot of musical interludes, a lot of really jazzy stuff, and yeah, it's pretty cool. I'd say my only complaint really was that it was a little packed for my taste, but maybe for middle grade, I guess that's to be expected. But I thought things were just a little too easy for her when she was investigating. And I mean, I've done a lot of like genealogical research, and trying to find cousin Marguerite has been, oh my gosh, that's been a lot. And yeah, so she's like, oh, this must mean that, and she just kind of goes down and solves everything. And everything was just and there are reasons for that you come across later, but for some of it anyway. But some of it is just like, wow, you're lucky. But yeah, it was a fun read. So let's see. That's all I've got to share right now on my screen. So let's go back to this. Let's see, do I have no comments yet? So those are the 3 books that I finished. So we'll move on to Readathons. So like I said, for it was a debut novel, so that's the middle grade March prompt. So I've got that taken care of. And now for March Mystery Madness, that was I should have left that up on the screen. The prompt was dressed to the nines, because the theme is we're going to the nines. And that would mean formal clothes on the cover. And you might have noticed that in that scene there was there were some jazz musicians on stage, and they were dressed very formally. So I counted that for that. And have I finished anything else for March Mystery Madness? I mean, I've read mysteries, but none of them, other than the Viva Durant story, none of them have actually met any prompts. But let's see. I do need to read a British mystery. So yeah, nothing so far has been a British mystery. So I've got to find one of those. I know, like the It Girl, I do have a copy of that. And it seems to me that it's pretty British. Let's see. And that was the 999 prompt. The 9 Lives prompt is Cat on the Cover. That's pretty easy to come by in my library. Let's see. I've got written down A Doomful of Sugar. Oh, yep, that's that. And I don't know if you can see, there is a kitty cat on the cover. And this I got for Christmas. So, yeah, and I did start on it, but then I got interrupted with all the year-end stuff. So yeah, I'll probably just start this one over since it's been a little while and read that. It's, looks like a little cozy mystery with maple syrup farming. Ooh, it includes 5 delicious maple recipes. And that is by Catherine Bruns. I'm not sure how that's pronounced. But A Doomful of Sugar. And so that will be that mystery. And let's see, the next prompt is 911 first responder story, such as firefighter or EMT. And I think I've talked about this one before. I'm going with a midwife because I tried looking up firefighter mysteries and they were all like steamy romances with maybe a mystery of some sort. But I'm like, so yeah. So this is Murder on Astor Place, and it's set, I believe, in New York. Yes, as a midwife in the turn-of-the-century tenements of New York City, Sarah Brandt has seen birth and death, suffering and joy. Now she is about to take part in something more unusual in the crime-ridden streets of the teeming city. We search for justice. So this is a gaslight mystery, and this is by Victoria Thompson. And I have not started it, so hopefully I can get to that soon. So yeah, I've got 2 weeks left in March, so I'm not going to get everything done. But let's see, one for Janelle, and Janelle was a booktuber who loved mysteries and a former co-host of this particular readathon. And so in her memory, we're supposed to read a book she loved. And so I'm reading Why Didn't They Ask Evans, which was apparently one of her favorite Agatha Christie novels, and also known as The Boomerang Clue. And but first I have to read 13 at Dinner. And yeah, I think I've already talked about this one because my copy is falling apart. But this is 13 at Dinner, and I'm also at the same time listening to the audiobook. I think I've got the Hugh Fraser narration of and it's Lord Edgware Dies. And that I am reading for 9th in the series. And yeah, when you get someone who has written so many books and then there are collections of short stories, and gets a little confusing and hard to like say, okay, that is the 9th book in the series, but I'm calling it that 13 at Dinner is the 9th book in the Poirot series. So that is, I'm just, yeah, as near as I can figure. Because I'm not really, I think maybe I'm counting one short story collection because it was initially put out there as a short story collection of just Poirot stories instead of just, it's like, here's some Marple, here's some Poirot, blah. But your calculations may be different, and that's fine. So then 9 Patch, Quilt on the Cover. I was going to do Steps to the Altar by Erlene Fowler, and I've got, because that would be the next book in that series, the Benny Harper series, which Benny Harper is a curator of a folk art museum or something anyway. Starts off with, these quilt displays and somebody gets killed. But anyway, all of them are themed around quilts and quilt patterns. And so Steps to the Altar is a quilt pattern. And I have it somewhere. My records indicate that, yes, I do have a copy of it. I have no idea. I can't find it. It's probably in a box in the garage. I found 3 books after it, but I'm not ready for those yet. So anyway, but I went onto Hoopla and I found, and now I can't remember the title, or something Patchwork, and it's a quilting mystery. It's on audiobook, I think. So I downloaded that. I have not started it. I have no idea if it's any good, but it does have a quilt on the cover. Next is 9 in the title or on the cover, and this is Witchy Whiskers, and I think it's a 9 Lives mystery or something like that, and it says so at the top. It's a supernatural mystery. I don't know anything about it. I think I got it for free on BookBub or something. I don't know. But it'll be fun, and I think it's pretty short, so I should be able to get through that one pretty quickly. And then let's see. The last one is any other 9, any tie-in with 9, such as page count, year published, number of chapters, etc. So I decided to go with Standing Dead, which is a Timber Creek canine mystery. And this is by Margaret Mizushima, who's one of my sisters in crime friends, and I love these books. These are so much, well, fun's not really the right word because, people die and horrible things happen to people, and but I like the characters, and Robo's a very good dog. And there's a little bit of a romance with Maddie Cobb, who is the deputy who, the canine handler, who handles Robo, and then there's a veterinarian, and this takes place in a fictional mountain town in a fictional county in Colorado. And so I'm kind of familiar with the landscape, but I haven't been out in the boonies a whole lot myself, so but it seems really familiar to me, and Margaret just does a great job with these books. So yeah, sorry Margaret, I'm behind. Yeah, I need to read Standing Dead, and I think the next one comes out soon. And I forget the title of that one, but I want to read this so that I can read the other one as soon as it comes out. And so that is March Mystery Madness. Those are my plans, and those are the other 8 books I need to get through in the next 2 weeks. Yeah, I will not finish all of them, but we'll see how far I get. And then, okay, so back to middle grade March. So the debut, that was Viva Durant and the Secret of the Silver Buttons. One Word Title is another of those Audible freebies, and that's Stuck by Chris Grabenstein. And I believe it's a time loop mystery kind of thing, or maybe an adventure. I'm not sure exactly if it's a mystery or an adventure or both. But I think it's kind of steampunky, maybe. I don't know. I have not started listening to it. It's pretty short, I believe. And then prompt 3 is to read an immigration or refugee story. And I lived on Butterfly Hill, and I think I have that on Hoopla. So I have not started listening to that yet, but it's a novel about a girl in South America, Argentina maybe, because I know there's references to like people being disappeared, so that sounds like Argentina. And then her family moves, or maybe I'm not sure if they all move to New York City or if they send her to New York City. But anyway, so yeah, it's an immigrant story, and I'm really looking forward to listening to that. And then Animal on the Cover, that's pretty easy. So middle grade March, and there's another Audible freebie called The Weirdies Get Weirder. And so the first book was The Weirdies, and you may remember I talked about that a little bit. And that was sort of kind of like the Lemony Snicket books, the Baudelaire children. These kids are a lot more interesting than the Baudelaire children. But anyway, they So this is the sequel to the Weirdies, and it sounds pretty wacky. So that should be fun. But I believe there are raccoons on the cover. There's something about raccoons. And then a book you feel like you missed out on. Where is it? I have it. Bridge to Terabithia. Oh, there it is. So this is Bridge to Terabithia. Terabithia? Oh, God, I still don't know how that's pronounced. By Catherine Patterson. And yeah, I have started on this. I'm a little ways into it, so I haven't started crying yet, but I have a feeling that's going to be pretty soon. It's about loss and grief. I do know that. But it's a classic and won a Newbery, and yeah. So that, and I did talk, I already talked about the Mona Lisa Vanishes. That was the group read. And I talked about that last week. And then there's the Irish readathon. And so, yeah, going back to the day the crayons came home. So the idea of this is to read Irish authors. But the first prompt is just read a book with green on the cover. And as you may recall, one of the crayons on the cover was a green crayon. So I'm counting the day the crayons came home for the Irish readathon, even though as far as I know, it's not the least little bit Irish. So what do I have left on that? Well, there's the, where is it? Oh, there it is. The group read is The Rachel Incident by Carolyn O'Donoghue, and I have been on the wait list at the library for quite some time. I'm still on the wait list. Yeah, it's I've been there for a while, and I probably will not get it. So sometime in the next week or so, I'm gonna have to decide if I want to burn a Libro credit on it or just wait for the library to get around to sending it to me. And yeah. And I'll probably wait because it's not like I'm out of stuff to read. Let's see, read an Irish children's book. I have got Owl Babies on Hoopla, and I think it's a read along, so it's like the picture book, but also there's audio that goes along with it, so that'll be nice. I like owls, so that seemed like a good choice. And the author is Irish, and I forget his name. But next, read an Irish book related to the number 7 to celebrate 7 years of the Irish Readathon. And I think it is on Audible. I do have a copy of The Ruin, and I believe that's by Dervla McTiernan. And so I'll be listening to that, and I believe that's the first book in a series. So maybe I'll find an author I love and continue in the series. And also on Audible, for the next prompt, read an Irish book that fulfills one of the cover prompts, which is, there's a lot of them here. Animal, food, house, books, people, trees, transport, fantasy, element, and stars. And A Week in Winter by Maeve Binchy has a building, has a house on the cover. So that counts. And I believe that's a pretty short, I think that's a novella. And then the last one is read an Irish book in your favorite genre, which is mystery. And so there's In the Woods by Tana French. And I don't know for sure she counts as Irish. I don't know what exactly her situation is, but I gather she lives in Ireland now, and I think people consider her Irish. I don't know if she's officially Irish. I don't know if that matters. But this is In the Woods. This is a mystery. and it's the first in the Dublin Murder Squad series. This is an Edgar Award winner. Yeah, I was reading it because the second book in the Dublin Murder Squad series was a book club pick for my local mystery book club. And so I started reading this and then realized, oh, if I'm going to read The Likeness in time for book club, I better read it now. So I went ahead and read The Likeness, and then I haven't got back to this. So, and then other mysteries I have handy that I'm hoping to read, even though they don't go to a prompt, at least as far as I know. Maybe I'll find they do go to a prompt. But this is Dark of Night by Barb Nicholas. This is the second book in the Evan Wilding series. I read the first one, really liked it. And so I'm eager to read this. And then I have an ebook copy of the third in the series. And then I'll be caught up on that series. Let's see, what else we got? We've got, let's see. Oh, I guess I'm done talking about readathons. So other things I've got going on in March. Let's see, I'm reading The Shape of Darkness by Laura Purcell, and this is for, I think, the Haunted Victorian book club, which I have just joined. Yes, I joined another book club, and but this is all nice and gothic. It's Bath in the Victorian era, and there's a spooky house, I guess, and yeah, should be awesome. And then I have started on Only If You're Lucky by Stacey Willingham, and this, I forget which book club this is for. Sleep When I'm Done, maybe. I may end up DNFing this one. It's, I don't know. It's a college, all the characters are college age, and I am not vibing with them. And they're not really my kind of people, so I'm just like, one of them disappeared, one of them died, whatever. But and I know that sounds really callous, but I'll keep reading this until it has to go back to the library, and then I'll decide then if I need to try to get it back in time to finish it before book club. And then, for High Tea Book Club, this is Lisa Jewell, Watching You. We read another Lisa Jewell book a few years ago. I was not crazy about it, but I'm willing to give Lisa Jewell another shot. So we'll see. We'll see if this is good. I need to read this quick. I think Wednesday is book club. And then, I've got Back to City Under One Roof by Iris Yamashita. And this is the one set in Alaska, and it's like this town where everyone lives in this one building. And, it's like this building is like a tiny little city. And there are some body parts that have washed up on the shore. And it's a tourist area, but it's like closed for the season or just getting ready to close. And the Anchorage PD, they show up and they're like, yeah, it's probably somebody committed suicide on a cruise ship, and their shoe was buoyant, and does that explain the hand? So another investigator decides, I'm gonna go see, I think there's more to this. And then she gets snowed in. There's a winter storm, and she's stuck there because there's like one tunnel through the mountain out of this area, and there's just this one building, and well, except for the tourist stuff, that's all closed now. And it's it's really interesting. I've already made a guess as to who I think did it, but that was on page 8 or something, so who knows. And so that's kind of what I've got going. I am also listening to I'm listening to 2 audiobooks that they're very different books. Their stories are very different, but I keep getting them mixed up because and the characters are very different, but they're both neurodivergent women. And um and so, we're all different, but there are certain things about one character that I really identify with, and there are certain things about the other character that I really identify with. And so I keep getting them mixed up in my head, but one is Cassandra in Reverse, and I forget the author's name, and the other one is Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead. I think that's I may not have the title exactly right on that one, but yeah, I'm almost done with Everyone in This Room. So, um, yeah, they're both really interesting, and I'm enjoying them both a lot. But I've got to get them untangled in my brain before I go to a book club and try to talk about them. Let's see. I do have one other, just kind of peeking ahead. This is a March read for Genreland, which is food history. The theme for Genreland this month. So this is a March read, but just to kind of give you a little peek into April, where I will be doing one of the readathons I'm doing is Old School April, which is all about nostalgia. And so it's another Christmas present. B. Dylan Hollis's Baking Yesteryear. And yes, he does include some awful recipes in the very back, but this goes up through, I think, through the 1980s. So there will be some nostalgic recipes, and one of the activity prompts in Old School April is to make a nostalgic recipe. So I'll have to pick something out of here for that. And now I have not done my my live show to put together my TBR for April readathons, but yeah, I'm getting close to a point that I can do that. It's, oh my god, it's intense. The Old School April, oh my gosh, that's like drinking from the fire hose. There is a lot there. And and then there are other readathons too. So, but yeah, the others, well, pretty much anything I read, there will be a way to count it for Old School April because there are so many opportunities. But I joined the Silver Snakes team. I will tell you that. But that's all I've got for this week on my book report. Yeah, just be sure to leave me a comment and say hi, and let me know how you're doing on any of the March readathons you're doing, or if you're planning to do any of the April readathons. And yeah, have fun, happy reading, talk at you later.